Shalom and welcome to another Bible study that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. My name is Esaac ben Israel and I am the head priest of the United Congregation of Israel. And I am joined by the mother of UCI, Shalom Lael.
Shalom, priest.
All right. So our brother Kish is out on duty. So Mother Lael is stepping in tonight. So we are going to discuss some things concerning our upcoming holy days. We have a set of holy days coming up. And when you consider how Yahweh has the holy days, the way they're designed, you have a couple of holy days together. Then you have one, a period of space, one in the middle, and then you have a big shebang at the end. So, and by the time it is done, it is a lot of celebrating within what Yahweh has set up for the children of Israel. But we kind of forget that earth was a place designed for man, and everything that man needs was there in the earth. There's this whole thing that this real push for man to go to heaven and all of these things. But of course, you got to die to go to heaven. So it's a pushback paradise. Man doesn't understand that he was already given a paradise. The garden on earth was man's paradise. It was a paradise made for him in his arena. What we try to do in pushing everybody to heaven is we're trying to get into an arena that does not belong to us. We're trying to look for a different thing other than the thing that was given unto us. And there's something to be said about that, and it's not very good. So we're going to begin tonight in Leviticus chapter 23. And Leviticus chapter 23 is where you find the setup of all of the holy days, and even the order of things that Yahweh has given unto us. We, of course, when you start looking at Leviticus 23, I remember when I first started reading it, I thought, okay, this is the feast of Yahweh. So it starts off with their little heading that they put there, feast of Yahweh. And then the first thing it starts talking about is 6 days shall work be done. And the seventh, is the Sabbath of rest. And you kind of look at that as if, why is that there? That's the weekly Sabbath. But that is the foundation for all of his holy days. The holy days are based on the foundation of the Sabbath. It is based on the foundation of when he rested. So then you have this situation that we were given that mimics his. So when you look at even our earthly lives, it is a smaller representation of the setup that Yahweh has. We offer up prayers unto our Elohim. Then we have children that come and request things of us. And to understand Yahweh's plight, you have to sit down and meditate on our own and look at, okay, when you have more than one kid, you can't give every kid everything that he or she asks for every time. And if you understand that, then it may give you an opportunity to understand what Yahweh has going on as we pray for things. And sometimes we can't figure out, why don't I have this yet? And we put that all on Yahweh. But if we slow down enough to examine the setup that he has given us, then we will start to see a bigger part of the picture that he's given us. All of this is supposed to help us get closer to him. But then we get so involved in the family that was given unto us, we don't really consider that even the family that is given to us, it's supposed to help us become closer to him. It is to help us have a better understanding of what he has going on. But we get so caught up in what we have and what it is that we're doing that we kind of forget the other purpose of it. So let's begin in Leviticus 23 and verse 23. So we're going to get to the ones that we are about to keep. We know that starting from verse 1, it gives you all the other holy days, but then we're going to get down into what we have coming up. And when I say coming up, the Feast of Trumpets is on September 25th at sundown. All right. So anytime that we're trying to get any days off, when we're keeping these days, we want the following day, because the day that we started is going to be at sundown. So the day that you want to be off from work, if you can get it, is the following day from the days that are listed on the calendar. And you can get our holy day calendar off of our website, the uci.org. Okay. So Feast of Trumpets is September the 25th. The Day of Atonement is October 4th at sundown. The Feast of Tabernacles, which is an 8-day feast, it starts October 9th, and that will be a Sabbath, and all males appear. And we have the last day, which will be October 16th at sundown. All right. So let's begin Leviticus 23 and start that at verse 23.
Verse 23. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th month, in the 1st day of the month, shall you have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, and holy convocation.
So then now reading the whole setup of the holy days, the beginning of this chapter started with the Sabbath. Mm-hmm. The end of the holy days starts with the Sabbath. This is the last set of holy days right here, what we are about to deal with. Okay? So it's important that we understand that. Go ahead.
You know, and in Yahweh's, you'll find as you begin to study that you often see them refer to Yahweh's feast days as his special Sabbaths, mm-hmm. because, and that's following that structure where it introduces the Sabbath to
exactly. You. And one of those key things there in verse 24, it says a holy convocation. Now, we know that in verse 24, in the beginning, it says in the 7th month, in the 1st day of the month. That means it's a new moon. The 1st day of the month is the new moon. So then this new moon is a holy convocation. So what does that mean when we get into holy? The word is kodesh, and it says apartness, sacredness. Of places and of things. Okay. So when we deal with something holy, it has to be sacred and set apart. Okay. Sacred and set apart is what holy is. So then what we find people doing is dealing more in the other part of the word, and that is convocation. And the convocation part is mikra. In Strong's, that's H4744. And it is convoking, a calling together, an assembly. All right? So then now you have holy convocation. If you're going to make this convocation or this gathering holy, then there are some things that you have to do to separate it from everything else. And this is where we end up falling off at. Understanding that we are backing into this culture, and we want to do the gathering so bad that we forget about the part where there's supposed to be the holiness in it. And if we're going to have that holy, then it has to be separate from other things. It has to be sanctified. And what does that mean? That means that we're not going to deal with it like normal things, like we would deal with everyday things. Sometimes we get so involved in the party aspect that we pass by the part where this gathering is supposed to be set apart. That means we can't invite everybody and do everything on something that is sacred, something that is supposed to be Kodesh. We can't invite, we can't deal with it regularly. We can't do it like we do everything else. So that's something that we have to consider if we're going to deal with these things in the correct way. So that's Leviticus 23 and 25.
Verse 25. You shall do no servile work therein, but you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh.
Now, servile work is work that you get paid for. So then we understand that we have to make sure that we are not working. This is a Sabbath, all right? So it is supposed to be set apart, not like our other days that we're going to keep. Go ahead.
Verse 26, and Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, also on the 10th day of this month, there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be an holy convocation unto you, and you shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh.
Right. Okay. So then on the 10th day of the 7th month, so we already have a holy day on the first day of the 7th month. All right. Then the 10th day of this 7th month is a day of atonement. And when we're talking about atonement, it then gives us, this direction. It shall be a holy convocation. So we know it's a Sabbath. All right. It's a holy gathering, and you shall afflict your souls. And when you talk about afflicting your souls, I've read so many things and seen videos where people say afflicting your soul is, just not working. I'm not afflicted when I don't work. I'm sorry.
Happy time.
I wait to not be working. If not working is affliction, these people are strange. This come from people who have never had to do anything or something. I don't know what I don't know what that is. But there's a whole teaching about how afflicting yourself is just not working, which makes no sense. Then that means every Sabbath would be an affliction. If you take that mentality and understand this is a big ministry, and you have so-called Hebrew Israelites that send those emails out to everybody and give them that confused doctrine, and you have to wonder, is it their objective to confuse Hebrews by sending out these things, talking about afflicting your souls is just not working. But you have to think about what we do even as a nervous thing. We eat. We eat when we're hungry. We eat when we're not. We eat when we nervous. We eat when we mad. We eat when we sad. We eat all the time. Cut that out. You have the biggest affliction. You can have somebody, a man who has $1 and a man who has $1 million. If you stop both of them from eating, both of them are afflicted. See, if you make the man who has a Benz ride in a Toyota, he might be afflicted. You make the dude who on the bus ride in a Toyota, he's not afflicted. That same thing does not afflict them. Mm-hmm. But when you talk about hunger and not eating, that is affliction universal all the way across the board. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you live. I don't care what income bracket you are in. When that ordinary food is cut off, you're going to know it. Your body is going to feel it. There's going to be some reaction there. So that's something that we have to consider and be careful when you run across some of those other doctrines, because we went through a period of time when my elder passed, where the next leader got up and said atonement was no longer atonement. It was no longer a fast. He said, hey, you're going to eat. So they made a feast instead of a fast. And it was the biggest bunch of blasphemy I had ever seen, but it was so aggressive it scared a lot of people into eating on the day that we should have been fasting. Go ahead.
Verse 28, and you shall do no work in that same day, for it is a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before Yahweh your Elohim.
Now, it had already said it was a holy convocation, so we know that on holy convocations, we're not supposed to do any work. We're not supposed to do any servile work. Then it gets to verse 28, and it says, you shall do no work. So we have this thing. See, now you're getting into the next line of affliction, because you're afflicting your soul, so you're cutting off food. But then you're also cutting off work. We do work as a busy part to help us get along or pass the time along. So then now you have two of these things together, afflicting your souls and no work, not no servile work. See, no servile work mean, okay, you don't do anything that you're supposed to be doing as a pay type thing. Now it gets down to no work. So that's another level when we get to the Day of Atonement, because what we're talking about is making atonement for your soul. And think about the affliction. When people say just not eating is affliction, when you understand that Yahshua was our atonement sacrifice, do you understand the affliction that he went through? How I'm just gonna not work and nothing in me was afflicted, and I'm trying to humble my spirit for what my God King High Priest had to suffer, and the only thing I'm gonna suffer is not going to work. There's something strange about that doctrine. Okay, as much affliction as he went through, the only thing that we can come up with on affliction is not working? Go ahead. Oh, you got an issue there. All right. So we're going to go, let me see, where am I? I'm going to start at 29. For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people. And whatsoever soul it be that does any work in that same day, that same soul will I destroy from among his people. You shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generation. In all your dwellings. Okay, you shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout all your generations in all your dwellings. That's everywhere you live. All right. And one of the things that you end up encountering where people say, well, we don't live in the land, so we don't have to worry about keeping these holy days or anything like that. And you have to understand, who would this benefit? Not just, of course, the adversary, the devil, but understand who it really benefits. It benefits the ruling authority that desires to rule over the children of Israel, and desire for us to be merged into their society. So having us step away from the things that Yahweh has given us gives them an opportunity for us to assimilate. And people who assimilate are the easiest ones to take into your kingdom. And when you have a system of conquering where these nations go from land to land to land, they are conquering places that are way far off from where they are. So to make that kingdom run a certain way, they need to be able to assimilate those people into a like culture so that they are easier to rule over. So a lot of the things that we have been given as our religion, they were not really religion at all. What it was to give us a like substance of worship so that everybody could be ruled over in an easier manner. There's certain things like we talk about the watch night service. You can't even find that anywhere in the Bible. Yet you go to any church in America on New Year's Eve and they're all celebrating watch night. But you can't find it in this book anywhere. So what are they doing? They are merging all the other gods of all the other countries that they have conquered. They merged them all and called it Christianity. So you have some people who, of course, are trying to worship the way that, the best way they know how. They just don't understand that a lot of these things were introduced so that each country that they had conquered would have a place in Christianity. And that's what makes the whole setup a situation where it's called whoredom, where it says this great harlot. Why? Because every god is worshipped in this thing, even gods that you can't even find in the Bible. And that's the thing that people have to understand, that these things are serious unto Yahweh, and if it is in our hearts to serve our Elohim, then the things that mean something to him have to mean something to us. Go ahead. I am at, start at 31. Leviticus 23 and 31.
31. You shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and you shall afflict your souls. In the 9th day of the month, from even unto even, shall you celebrate your Sabbath. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of this month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles, for 7 days unto Yahweh.
Yep. That's fine. Yep. I think so. Okay. All right. Well, we stop at
Verse 32. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and you shall afflict your souls. In the 9th day of the month at even, from even unto even, shall you celebrate your Sabbath.
From even unto even shall you celebrate your Sabbath. So now we get to this situation here of going through our atonement. So we have this set up. We have the Feast of Trumpets, and when you deal with the trumpet, there's some things there that we have to consider what that trumpet does. When we are considering that this is a holy day, we also have to consider that what this trumpet does is it calls the children of Israel. So I want to hold your place right there, and I want to go to Exodus 19. Exodus 19, and let's start that at verse 1.
Verse 1. In the 3rd month, when the children of Israel were gone forth out of the land of Egypt, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai. For they were departed from Rephidim, and were come to the desert of Sinai, and had pitched in the wilderness. And there Israel camped before the mount. And Moshe went up unto Elohim, and Yahweh called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shall you say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel, You have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine.
And that's what we have fear of. We don't want to be a peculiar people. Yahweh says, you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people. You say that and people have a serious issue. These are Yahweh's words and what he desires out of Israel. But the way to do that is to walk in the covenant that was given unto us. So you have people who have been placed in the land by the powers that be and claim to be these people. But the whole part about being a peculiar people above is walking in the covenant. And if you are in control of your own government, if you are in control of your own money, your military, everything, you have absolutely no one to blame for your depravity. No one. You are in control. So it doesn't make any sense why other things would be going on in the land that goes against the covenant. Mm-hmm. You are in control. See, it's different when you're talking about the children of slaves. They don't have any rights whatsoever. We can't change laws here. We can't do any of those things. But when somebody has in the palm of their hand all the power, it doesn't make sense why you're not walking in the covenant. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Verse 6, and you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation.
So this is the beginning of the setup, and Yahweh is already talking about a kingdom of priests. Well, he's just given us a tribe of priests. How are we going to be a kingdom of priests? Because the rest of the nations have to be taught. So the priests all came out of, at that time, Levi. So, but Yahweh is already on a whole nother level with the priesthood. He just hasn't shared that level with us. By the time we get to Yahshua, now we have a priest coming out of Judah, which is not the tribe where the priests originally come from. But when you look at the whole setup of the 144,000, you find all of these 12,000 from each of the 12 tribes, and they're following Yahshua everywhere he goes. So if he is a priest, a high priest, then these are under priests. And that means that those are priests from every tribe, not just one tribe. So Yahweh is already dealing with the ending of things at the beginning. You shall be a kingdom of priests. Mm-hmm. So when we consider, people will say, you have these people who focus mainly on the New Testament, and they'll say, why do you have a head covering on? You should read what a priest's outfit looks like. You should read that Israel was set to be a kingdom of priests. So you have a lot of congregations where you see the people in their get-ups or costumes or whatever that is they're wearing. It is designed after the priest's garment, but they'll do everything except have a head covering. They didn't finish reading. Go ahead.
The rest of verse 6. These are the words which you shall speak unto the children of Israel. And Moshe came and called for the elders of the people and laid before their faces all these words which Yahweh commanded him. And all the people answered together and said, all that Yahweh has spoken, we will do. And Moshe returned the words of the people unto Yahweh.
So all the we are agreeing to the covenant. All right. These marriage vows, the vows were read. We agreed to the marriage vows. And Moshe is handling this exchange of vows here. Israel says, all that you have spoken unto us will we do. I do.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, lo, I come unto thee in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with thee, and believe you forever. And Moshe told the words of the people unto Yahweh.
So Moshe is telling the words to the people, but Yahweh understands that the people that he's dealing with. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, lo, I come unto you in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak to you. I am purposely doing this in front of them because I know they're going to question you. I know they're going to question you. So I'm going to make this a spectacle so that they will not question you. And we know that they question Moshe constantly. So you're talking about an individual who Yahweh speaks from the thick cloud. You have Moshe walking amongst the fire, the everything that's on the mount. He is glowing at some point because he spent so much time with Yahweh. Israel still constantly tried him. That's the manner of people that we are. We try dudes who glow. We try people who, and it's so strange because nowadays all somebody has to say is, I talked to God last night. And all of a sudden we give them people all the attention. They saw him talking to Yahweh. This wasn't no situation where, he came and told you he talked to Yahweh, but you didn't see it. No. You heard him talk to Yahweh. Matter of fact, when Yahweh started talking to them, they took off running and said, no, don't talk to us no more. Talk to him. Now, these are our own desires. Talk to him and then let him talk to us. Let us not see the face of Yahweh. Let us not hear the voice of Yahweh. And then that has now become the way in which people rule over us. They use the line, I talked to God last night. So it is the very thing that we ran away because Yahweh is like, I'm going to present myself to the people. People didn't want nothing to do with it. So now the tricksters are actually using the very method that we declined against us. Ain't that something? Go ahead.
Verse 10, and Yahweh said unto Moshe, go unto the people and sanctify them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes, and be ready against the third day. For the third day Yahweh will come down in the sight of all the people upon Mount Sinai.
So then now we see a setup. Okay, as we are going to present ourselves before Yahweh, because understand in this Feast of Tabernacles or Feast of Booths, we have a holy day where all males are making an appearance. So then we see we're sanctify ourselves against today and tomorrow so that we are sanctified against the third day. And we know that sanctification comes in threes. So this is how we will prepare before we make our appearance. So all of the individuals who are at home or whatever, we will announce, okay, at the end of our teaching, we will be going outside to make an appearance in the next 10 minutes. And then that way, all of us can appear at the same time, no matter where we are. All across the country, outside the country, wherever you are, everybody will be making their appearance at the same time, and we do it together as a congregation. So this is why we're doing these things. Sanctify against the third day. Let them wash their clothes. Okay? This is one of those things where we used to read, or we used to hear all the time, cleanliness is next to godliness. But nobody would tell you where they got that from. You going in here and looking for cleanliness is next to godliness, you ain't going to find that. It ain't in here. But then when you start looking like, well, okay, wait a minute. Before they came to present themselves before Yahweh, they washed themselves, they washed their clothes, and they tried to clean themselves internally as well.
Right.
That's how cleanliness is next to godliness. When you read that a soldier was supposed to have a paddle on the end of his weapon so that he could get the dirt and cover that which came from him in the field, because it says Yahweh your Elohim walks among you as the children of Israel is going to war. But if he see uncleanness, he will depart from you. That's how cleanliness is next to godliness. So it comes to a point, I might have all kind of stuff going on in my house and kids going everywhere, and then we get to the point, all right, stop. Everybody stop what you're doing. Let's straighten this up. Because you have to consider, what happens if the angel of Yahweh comes on the day that you have the nastiest house ever? Now, but he got a blessing in his hand for you. And he come in. No, I'm not going in there. And he turn around and leave. Mm-hmm. Now, you got to hope he come back. Because remember what Yahweh said unto Moshe. I have sent an angel to lead you in the way. Beware of him and provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgression. What if he don't come back? Mm-hmm. So that's something that we have to consider. And, you know, we were talking about this a while back, how, you know, dogs have even changed, but the animal kicks behind itself after it uses, you know, the restroom. After it ain't the restroom, you know what I mean? So after it relieves itself, it kicked dirt over it. Yahweh has a law saying that these men in the field have to do that as well. So there's something connected to that. And then now we get back at the part where it says you shall have a holy convocation. Mm-hmm. So then now we're talking about cleaning the place. So that means there's some preparation that comes beforehand. So if we're going to have a holy convocation, we're going to go through and try to make sure that we don't have things laying about that may drive the spirit away from us. Go ahead.
You know, when you get into the New Testament, it kind of keeps that thing going because, you know, Yeshua introduced, you know, the foot washings. The priests had a bunch of washings that they did in the Old Testament, but then you have that coming forward, you know, in the New Testament. And this is something that he says, you know, as I've washed your feet, you ought to do this to one another. So we have that continuing, that same thing about cleanliness continuing.
And he says, you know, do you understand what I've done unto you? Mm-hmm. You know,
the significance.
Do you understand what I've done unto you? You know, that's pretty heavy right there. Go ahead.
Verse 12. And you shall set bounds unto the people round about, saying, take heed to yourselves that you go not up into the mount or touch the border of it. Whosoever touches the mount shall be surely put to death.
So then you have these bounds. These are boundaries where the common people, the people cannot come. Only the ones who Yahweh has designated can come past these bounds. The one thing we don't like is boundaries. Mm-hmm. But these are the kind of boundaries that keep you living. You want to understand what those are. Go ahead.
Verse 13. There shall not a hand touch it, but he shall surely be stoned or shot through. Whether it be beast or man, it shall not live. When the trumpet soundeth long, they shall come up to the mount.
So understand, at the beginning of the 7th month, we have this feast of trumpets. The trumpet represents the voice of Yahweh. When the trumpet sounds, the children of Israel move. So the trumpet is a part of his voice. Not all of his voice only, but understand what it represents. It represents the voice of Yahweh. When you hear the trumpet, you move. When the trumpet blows in Revelation, you're talking about all these things are happening. The angels are moving. Things are happening at each one of these things. So the trumpet blowing is a serious thing. So when we talk about keeping the Feast of Trumpets, we're talking about learning how to move at the voice of Yahweh. Mm-hmm. See, a lot of people just think, you know, we're just keeping, you know, some religious observance. The Feast of Trumpets is about moving when Yahweh calls you. Go ahead.
Verse 14, and Moshe went down from the mount unto the people and sanctified the people, and they washed their clothes. And he said unto the people, be ready against the third day, come not at your wives. And it came to pass on the third day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings, and a thick cloud upon the mount, and the voice of the trumpet exceedingly loud, so that all the people that was in the camp trembled.
Right. And sometimes we forget, as especially being men, we used to, it's thunder scare the children. Now you just ain't heard the right thunder. The right thunder, and a grown man take off running. The right thunder will try to make you hide inside yourself. Okay? The right thunder, and then you're talking about thunders, lightning, thick cloud, and a trumpet. Not loud, but exceeding loud. Okay? You got all that going on at the same time. Go ahead.
Verse 17, and Moshe brought forth the people out of the camp to meet with Elohim, and they stood at the nether part of the mount. And Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke, because Yahweh descended upon it in fire. And the smoke thereof ascended as the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mount quaked greatly.
So not only do you have the thunders, the lightning, the thick cloud, the voice of the trumpet exceeding loud, but now you got the whole thing on a smoke. You got fire descending, coming down upon it. And then you have the entire mount quaking greatly. All that's happening. Okay? Go ahead.
Verse 19. And when the voice of the trumpet sounded long and waxed louder and louder.
It was already exceeding loud to start with. Now it's gotten louder and louder. How you get exceedingly louder and exceedingly louder and exceedingly louder? Go ahead.
Moshe spoke, and Elohim answered him by a voice. And Yahweh came down upon Mount Sinai on the top of the mount. And Yahweh called Moshe up to the top of the mount, and Moshe went up.
Now see, this right here is making a statement, and Yahweh is showing the significance of this servant and the job that he has been called to do. This is a lot going on, but understand, the trumpet is in it. When you talk about how to make the tribes move, you blow the trumpet, this part, no, you blow, and you can blow with an alarm, and then they know that these things are happening. All right? So you have all of these things that are supposed to be set forth with the trumpet. It says when you go to war against the enemy that oppresses you in your land, you shall blow an alarm with the trumpet, and your Elohim shall hear you. So not only now for us to call him, we need to have something that mimics his voice. And understand, when we're talking about a shofar, we're talking about a ram's horn is the trumpet. Okay? You will watch all of these programs, and all of these people will have this African kadu, which is this long horn. That is not a ram's horn. A ram is offered on the altar of Yahweh. A kadu is not. Understand the difference, and stop letting these people tell you that what they have is a ram's horn. Because let me tell you something, if you don't know no better, I've seen videos where the Ish have a kadu, the horn about as long as this table. Now when you seen a ram with a straight horn that long, that ram, something wrong with him. Rams run into each other. It's got a curve, okay? They have done videos with the kadu, and the title of the video says ram's horn. Now, if you don't know no better, you have looked at that and you now believe that that's a ram's horn. Then you walk around and you look at all of these brothers on the corner and you find, oh, they use the same one the Ish use. So you in your mind think that that is a ram's horn. That is not a ram's horn. I don't know who you calling, but it ain't my God. You might be calling a God, but you're not calling the God. So understand, he has, specific ways that things are supposed to be done. Go ahead.
Verse 21. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Go down, charge the people, lest they break through unto Yahweh to gaze, and many of them perish. And let the priests also, which come near to Yahweh, sanctify themselves, lest Yahweh break forth upon them. And Moshe said unto Yahweh, The people cannot come up to Mount Sinai, for thou charged us, saying, Set bounds about the mount, and sanctify it. And Yahweh said unto him, Away, get thee down, and you shall come up, you and Aaron with you. But let not the priests and the people break through to come up unto Yahweh, lest he break forth upon them. So Moshe went down unto the people and spoke unto them.
Right. So then now let's go back to Leviticus 23. So then that's just understanding this whole part about this trumpet and what it does. Even when we talk about Yahshua coming to gather the children of Israel, you will then hear things about the trumpet of the Jubilee. This Jubilee is when all of the people return to their possession. So this is the thing that Yahshua is going to blow when he sets up a righteous system on earth. When he blows that trumpet is for the gathering of the children of Israel.
Yes.
All right. So our regathering is connected in the trumpet. So sometimes we have this thing where we attribute certain things at a higher value. Like, people know about Passover, but they haven't heard of the other things and they don't really consider them. Trumpets is a new moon. You have so many people who don't even regard the new moon. Most of them have never even been taught about it. So you can go ask some people about a new moon and they'll be looking at you talking, what are you talking about? The Feast of Trumpets is a new moon, but it is a special new moon that is greater than the other new moons. But basically, the new moon is a new month. It is the way that Yahweh gave us to calculate time.
Exactly.
And we understand that each day, each couple of days, you can see the change in the phases of the moon, and it completely starts over. It is the time clock in the sky that Yahweh has given unto us. And our forefathers knew so much more about those things because they had to. They observed. They didn't have all the distractions that we have. So they knew a whole lot more about those things. Let's see, where did we stop at in Leviticus 23?
Somewhere around 34. Let me read 34 again.
Okay.
Verse 34. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of this 7th month shall be the feast of tabernacles for 7 days unto Yahweh.
So then we have trumpets. Then we have the Day of Atonement. And now we have the Feast of Booths, all in the same month. All right, so this is a lot going on in 1 month. And then when we deal with this feast here, we got 7 days and then a holy convocation. So you're talking about this is a whole week plus that's happening here. So, and that begins the 15th day of the 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles. Go ahead.
Verse 35. On the first day shall be a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein.
So now we're getting at the beginning of this feast, we have a holy convocation. So it's going to begin with a Sabbath. So the very first day of the Feast of Tabernacles or the Feast of Booths. See, it's important sometimes that we, look at these different names, because the changing of names does some real damage. By changing the name of Feast of Weeks to Pentecost, most Christians have no idea that they're keeping a Old Testament holy day. They believe Pentecost is something that Paul and Christ came up with. And why would they not? You look up Pentecost, you're not going to find it anywhere but the New Testament. But when you understand what it is, that Penta is a Greek term meaning 50, and then you understand that Feast of Weeks was 7 Sabbaths, 7 times 7 is 49, the very next day is Pentecost, and it's always held on a Sunday. Well, so is ours. Well, you gotta, this is how Sunday morning tells on itself. If Pentecost is always on a Sunday, remember, the setup, if you don't understand what Penta means, Penta is 50, 7 times 7 is 49 next day. So if I have 7 Sabbaths, that's 7 Saturdays plus 1. What do I end up? Sunday. That means they know when the Sabbath is. They just know they're not going to keep it. They understand. We have had situations where other Christian organizations, Pentecost was on the exact same day as ours. That means they knew when Passover was. They knew when Feast of Unleavened Bread was. They knew to get to that next Sabbath and count 7 Sabbaths. They knew to do all of that to get to the Feast of Pentecost. Yet they didn't keep anything, but they knew all of it so that they could count it right. Go ahead.
You know what? And when Yeshua was with his disciples and he actually left them and went back to the Mount of Transfiguration, he told them, tarry until the Spirit be endowed from on high. And when you go to those days, if you know what you're looking at, you can get to those 50 days from when he was speaking, talking about that, so you can pick that up. But, you know, they read that in the New Testament, but they don't know that it's connected to what was done in the Old Testament. Right.
And it is given in a way so that they would not be able to connect those things, so that it won't show that there is a connection there. Go ahead.
Verse 36, 7 days shall you offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. On the 8th day shall be a holy convocation unto you, and you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. It is a solemn assembly, and you shall do no servile work therein.
So then you have these things right here. 7 days shall you offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. Remember now, in the calling, in Yahweh's presence, was the trumpet, the fire, and the smoke. All of that is present in the offering. So when you have these people who come up on the Sabbath and say, you know what, I'm not going to eat anything because you ain't supposed to burn no fire, on the Sabbath day, so, I'm going to eat the cold cuts. Okay, I understand something. The fire that it was talking about was working. They had to make hot bread on the Sabbath day, and the priests are doing that. You got a light of Yahweh's candlestick that can never go out. All of this has to keep going on. So you have to consider that when you get to especially these holy days, we can't have something that wasn't offered by fire. So you want to get you some cold cuts, you better put some fire on your cold cut. You better put some fire on something.
Misunderstandings cause you to do things, where you're just trying to be over righteous and you wind up being below par.
Right. Thinking that, hey, I'm going to afflict myself in this. You better afflict yourself the right way. These offerings were made by fire. So even if you decide you're going to do some vegetables, it better be some smoke somewhere in them vegetables. That's all I got to tell you. You want to do your vegetarian thing? It better be some hot vegetables. I can tell you that. Go ahead.
Verse 37. These are the feasts of Yahweh, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh, a burnt offering and a meat offering.
And meat means food, okay? Food offering. All right, go ahead.
A sacrifice and drink offerings, everything upon his day. Besides the Sabbaths of Yahweh, and beside your gifts, and beside all your vows, and beside all your freewill offerings, which you give unto Yahweh. Also in the 15th day of the 7th month, when you have gathered in the fruit of the land, you shall keep a feast unto Yahweh 7 days. On the first day shall be a Sabbath, and on the 8th day shall be a Sabbath.
All right, so it begins with a Sabbath. It ends with a Sabbath. All right. So we have all of these things. We're dwelling in these booths, which we're gonna read a little bit more about. But you have to look at just the setup that Yahweh has for the children of Israel. He has commemorated some things, and we have to walk in the things that he has set for us, so that we will not forget. Because he said point blank, when I have fed you to the full, then you will revolt against me. So we have to basically pray that Yahweh doesn't keep us in a place where we're without, but also that he doesn't give you so much that you revolt against him. Whatever that is, and everybody thinks they know their number, but you may or may not. Some of us may think, hey, life would be so much better for me if I hit the lotto. And then they hit the lotto and you never see them again. Then that means the lotto didn't benefit Yahweh, because now it has stopped you from doing certain things and caused you to do some other things.
Exactly.
So we have to consider that. Go ahead.
Verse 40. And you shall take you on the first day the boughs of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and the boughs of thick trees, and willows of the brook. And you shall rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim 7 days. And you shall keep it a feast unto Yahweh 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. You shall celebrate it in the 7th month. You shall dwell in booths 7 days. And all that are Israelite born shall dwell in booths, that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am Yahweh, your Elohim.
All right. So that you may, this is a remembrance situation for the children of Israel to remember, hey, I brought you out. You had to dwell in these things, but now you have, goodly houses. But I need you to remember where you came from.
Exactly.
So then these things are to help us remember where we came from. Keep the Passover, that you may remember that Yahweh pulled you out of Egypt, that Yahweh set a difference between the children of Israel and the Egyptians, that you may understand how he protected you in the midst of a destroyer. The destroyer was going down the street, going from house to house, but he bypassed your house. See, these things are a remembrance situation for us, that we may not get beside ourselves as we achieve. Did you finish that?
Verse 44. And Moshe declared unto the children of Israel the feasts of Yahweh.
All right. So he declared these feasts unto the children of Israel, and these things were set for a reason. I want to go to Exodus 23. So when we look at these things, we are to rejoice in what Yahweh has provided for us. And we forget that it is Yahweh that give us all of these things for the sustenance, or the things that we need to survive. So when you get back to the beginning of the book, you then can see why there was an issue between Cain's offering and Abel's offering, because respect was not showed for the offering that was given for them to sustain themselves. So you have Abel, who brought the best, and you have Cain, who just brought some stuff. So then we consider what all of these things are about. Our holy days are about agriculture, about him providing for us. So that's why once we get into the cold, that's why we're about to keep our last set of holy days. The weather is about to change. So what happens in late September, October, all that time? Harvest. Now you're getting all of the stuff that you have planted and have grown, and now you're gathering these things in, and they are to sustain you through the cold, barren months where nothing else is growing. Okay? You're taking care of these things, you're bringing this in, and then you're going to rejoice before your Creator. Exodus 23, and let's start that at verse 10.
And 6 years you shall sow your land, and shall gather in the fruits thereof. But the 7th year you shall let it rest and lie still, that the poor of the people may eat, and what they leave the beasts of the field shall eat. In like manner you shall deal with your vineyard and with your olive yard.
Now you have to look at some of the richest nations have the poorest people. Okay? The way Yahweh has set this up, 6 years shall you sow your land, and shall gather in the fruits thereof. But in the 7th year you shall let it rest and lie still. So, what grow of it, grow of it. And you don't go out there to try and pick it. Let the poor have that. So the land is now going through a Sabbath. This is a beautiful situation. The land is getting an opportunity to rest, because you'll find that sometimes, they say, this area has been over-farmed.
Yes.
And when you don't, know anything, because, we city dwellers, we like, what do you mean over-farm? You can over-farm, it's made for farming. What do you mean over-farm? A lot of times they have to change crops, because they may overdo that area. So man has found a way to keep pushing without following Yahweh's law. So I'm not going to stop. What I'm going to do is switch some things up so I can keep going. But this gives the land a good opportunity here, because the way people will come through when they're harvesting is not the same way when you get to a point where, hey, just the poor and the stranger can come over there and eat. A lot of those things are going right back in the ground. So you think about if all of the seeds from whatever that is are all falling right at that point, do you know how much better that next year is going to be? You didn't pick any of those things. Exactly. They all died right there. Oh my God, that next year is going to be, and you have to think about how Yahweh worked. He said, he gave us the manna, but then when it came time for the Sabbath, he gave you enough for 3 days. He gave you so much, you wasn't going to miss what you were not going to pick on the Sabbath. So he had already provided for the Sabbath the day before. So then you consider that when you talk about the land keeping a Sabbath, my God.
It is, and it's important. It's the reason why, we're fighting foods that we get now that we say, they're just depleted of nutrients.
Right. It just looked like a fruit.
Because we don't let anything, the land is there, nothing decomposes and the nutrients don't go back into the soil. When you plant crops on a soil, the plants take up the nutrients, and so that has to be replenished. And when it doesn't happen, then you get empty food like we have. Right.
Now y'all know that y'all know that Nature Channel got me, right? Yeah, I told for I was just watching it. It was watching the thing. I can't stop watching this stuff. The dung beetle is, this animal is, and
it's amazing.
It is, and then it is so important to the ecosystem.
It's amazing.
The way Yahweh has made these things. This animal gathers poop, rolls it into a ball, and keep pushing it across where he's going. And he's helping the entire ecosystem as they fight over crap. So other beetles are fighting over this, and they're spreading and refertilizing
the land.
You know, and then it's crazy because you have certain fruits that certain animals can't digest, and half of them they're halfway digested. So then when this dung beetle gets this, it is helping to fertilize the land to get the land, richer and all of this. You would never even think that this little thing is extremely important when it comes down to making this land to continue to produce. We're talking about a little bitty little thing. It is
little. The dung is usually 2 to 3 times larger than the beetle.
Yeah, exactly.
Pushing this thing up here.
And he's pushing a ball, and then they get to fighting over the little things. And you don't even think about how important that is for, the health of the land. And then you look at these situations, because things have been overdone. Now we're in a situation where they're talking about, we have famines, we have all of these things, because what man did was push so that they can make as much money as possible. Mm-hmm. And being in this industrialized situation, they figure, hey, we can ship things in, so they figure there's no reason to keep our farmland. We'll just buy the vegetables and the fruit from somebody else. But then when you don't do that, then what do you think you are doing to your land? And then when something happens and you can't get to that food that they shipping in, and look at the situation that this conflict has caused in Ukraine. We're talking about a whole lot of African people were, at the point of starvation, because this food, this wheat, this grain did not come out of Ukraine the way that they had been planning on it. But this is one of those things when you leave the growth of certain things up to some other place, because we have ways of mass producing and ways of mass shipping. What happened when those things break down? Then now you have a food shortage. You have all of these things. But go ahead.
Verse 12. 6 days shall you do your work, and on the 7th day you shall rest, that your ox and your ass may rest, mm-hmm. and the son of your handmaid and the stranger may be refreshed. And in all things that I have said unto you, be circumspect, and make no mention of the name of other gods, neither let it be heard out of your mouth.
All right, so if we're not going to make the no mention of the name of other gods, this is something that we could do in our land because we were in control of our land. Now, everything that we have is named after another god. Mm-hmm. We got shoes and clothing that's named after other gods. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, we don't even know it. There are times that I ended up buying a little bracelet from a little street vendor. And I was like, man, this is nice. About a week later, I guess the light hit it the right way. And we looked at it. Hey, what's that right there? I was like, oh, that don't look right. That look like another god or something right there. I had to put that thing down. So things are sometimes so hidden in the fabric of things that they hide the things that they are putting together for the other gods that they worship. So you look at the days, the months. You have all of these things that they have set up and have put carefully crafted a way for the names of their gods to be spoken. Mm-hmm. And you won't even know that that's what you're doing. So doesn't mean it's not a sin, though, just because you didn't know it. So then you see why the children of Israel needed to walk through that wall of water coming out of Egypt so that they could be baptized. See, they could be cleansed from a whole lot of things that they were operating in that they didn't really understand, or were they trying to do that? So then you have all of these things where we are saying, you know, we can't walk around in this land and say first day, second day, third day, fourth day. Nobody's going to know what you're talking about. We have to use the names Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all of them gods.
Yes.
All of them gods. So when you talk about make no mention of the name of other gods, what day you going to get your check? Tell them people you're going to get it on the 5th day if you want to. You ain't going to, they going to like, okay, so we ain't got to pay him for 30 days. He said don't pay him, but on the 5th day don't come but one time a month. All right? You see the difference in their thought process? The way their situation is set up, the 5th day don't come but once a month. If you're dealing with what the Hebrews set up, the 5th day comes every week. First day, second day, third day, fourth day, 5th day. But if you say 5th day to them, that's the 5th day of the month. And I've had working situations where they pay you and you learn really terms that you don't like. Net 30. See, a lot of people don't even know what that means. That means you don't get paid but once every 30 days. Okay? So you can't just say 5th day. You're going to have to use the name of that God. Wooden, Thor, Frigg, you're using the name of those gods, but that's also a part of our punishment.
Yeah.
When you consider Daniel is coming out, having to operate in Babylon, and amongst the Babylonians, he's named Belteshazzar, which is a name that glorifies the heathen god. Not only is he calling or having to say the name of other gods, he's being called by one. So he has two manner of communication. The children of Israel called him Daniel, which is a name of Israel. But then the other people call him Belteshazzar. So he has to operate in both of these names, knowing that one of them is straight heathen. But that is a part of our punishment. And your sign that you are coming out of that punishment is when you start to make the changes. You know, I was looking at something and it was talking about why all these nations changed their names. You know, like Turkey, Sri Lanka, and all these other places. A lot of those places were dominated by Britain. Britain then gave them the name. Their status or statement of independence was to change their name from the pagan heathen name that was given to it under British rule. Now imagine that. And then people want to know, well, why you change your name? Countries have changed their name when they get themselves back from the rulership of Babylon. Why would we not? Your name is the first thing that denotes who you are, what your culture is, and who you serve. These countries understood that, and they changed their names as soon as they got out from up under British control. They changed the name of you got to think about that, an entire country. There are countries whose name was changed. And some of them didn't, change theirs back, but some of them knew the significance of it, and they said, we don't want to be called that anymore. So a lot of these countries that you look at, that's not the name that they chose.
Exactly.
They were given those names by the people that ruled over them. The same way it happened to us.
And that's what, if anybody should understand that, we should understand it. We had it happen to us when we came here, those Christian names we had to, and then when we got out of slavery, they gave us their last names. And then you go in Isaiah 65 and it tells you that, that they gave us their names and that they named lands after their prosperity and after their, and so you go in there, we were talking about it the other day, New Orleans, New York, New Brunswick, all these places that are already over in Europe.
Right. So they're going to recreate where they're from, by just calling. So the other place would be York. They got New York. So we don't really even consider that there's significance in those things. And that's why those nations went and changed their names, because they did not want to be named after something that was not representative of what they believed in. And that's something that we are not ready to grasp, that because we were taught strange things. We were taught, especially when we get our last name and we have our family reunions, we teach it's pride in the Johnson name. It's pride in the this name. Which Johnson you talking about? The slave Johnson or the slave master Johnson? Because there's two Johnsons. All right. Which one you talking about? So we were taught that. So then when it comes down to it, we want to hold on to that name. Before I knew anything about the word, I walked around in pride of my last name. I didn't know where it came from. When I did understand that and got to a certain level in my mind and in my spirit, once those two got on the same page, I understood, oh yeah, this got to change. Go ahead.
And you even need to find that with, your given name, your first name. People kind of latch on to those, and they come into this faith, and the next thing you know, they're trying to build a Hebrew identity around that old name and those old deeds and those old things. You don't want to build a new structure around that old stuff.
No, because you're taking new wine and putting it in old bottles, and that's going to cause an issue. And when you think about what typically happens in any situation where an entity gets a new name, they're able to wipe the slate clean. And that's why you'll find a company changes its name.
Right.
Because the wrong deeds or whatever happened under the old name. So by changing the name, they are no longer connected to that bad situation. And if we pay attention, those things are all around us. They're just not explaining them to us. They're purposely leaving us out of the loop. Go ahead.
Verse 14. 3 times you shall keep a feast unto me in the year. You shall keep the feast of unleavened bread. You shall eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I commanded you in the time appointed of the month Abib.
All right. So this is Abib is green ear. This is the beginning. Why they end up calling the people who serve Yahweh, they called us the April Fools. Abib is in late March, early April. This is when Yahweh says his new year begins. Why? This is the beginning of growth. What the heathen has given us is the beginning of the year in January. So then, as usual, what did we read on the Sabbath day? The children of the flesh afflict the children of the spirit. So then the affliction from the children of the flesh decided to mock the culture that Yahweh has given us. So the people who kept their new year in April or late March, they were called the April Fools. So then they come up with a part of exercising this April Fools. At this point, you're supposed to come up with elaborate things to fool people so that you can mock the April Fools. Check that out. So Yahweh's real culture became a mocking situation, but he gave us this instruction here of when the beginning of our year was to be. Go ahead.
For in it you came out of Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty.
Right. So then when we come to present ourselves before Yahweh, when we make our appearances, none shall come empty. So we all come with an offering when it is time to make an appearance before Yahweh. Go ahead.
Verse 16. And the feast of harvest, the first fruits of your labors, which you have sown in the field, and the feast of ingathering, which is the end of the year, when you have gathered in your labors out of the field.
So you see that all of these things are based around agriculture, but when you look at this, you have the Feast of Unleavened Bread, And then verse 16, the Feast of Harvest. Check that out. So one thing, you got Feast of Weeks, you got Feast of Harvest, then you got Pentecost. All the same stuff. Same thing, called by a different name. So you have to learn to listen to those names. Because something may be going on and you're not, quite sure what that is, because there are different terms that this thing could be called by. Go ahead.
17. 3 times in the year, all your males shall appear before Yahweh Elohim.
Now, before, even before we deal with that, in the last part of 16, it says, and the Feast of Ingathering. So then ingathering is tabernacles. So you have these different terms that will be used for the same thing. So booths, ingathering, tabernacles, same thing. Go ahead.
Verse 18. You shall not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread, neither shall the fat of my sacrifice remain until the morning. The first of the first fruits of thy land you shall bring into the house of Yahweh your Elohim. You shall not see the kid in his mother's milk.
All right, verse 17, 3 times in a year shall all your males appear before Yahweh. And we know that it is written, let it be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Exactly.
All right, so then we have a setup that we have to follow. We cannot alter the setup just because, we want something to do. So then you consider in Job chapter 1 and chapter 2, the angels came to make their appearance, and the adversary, the devil, came also. Then the very next chapter, another time came with sons of Elohim went to present themselves, and Lucifer came also. So as it's talking about the sons of Elohim at that point, it's talking about the angels. And we're back to back. You see 2 appearances in Job 1 and Job 2. And Lucifer was there for each one of them. Now, and we look at him and we say all the things, oh, he's this, he's that, he's that. He knew to go and make his appearance every time the appearance came. Now, check that out. You can say what you want to say about Lucifer, but how strange does it make us if even the adversary, the devil, made his... Let's go there. Let's go to Job chapter 1. You have to understand, what does it say about us then? Job chapter 1. And I want to start at verse 6.
Verse 6. Now there was a day when the sons of Elohim came to present themselves before Yahweh, and Satan came also among them.
So now we're not talking about some regular men. We're talking about these sons are angels, and they are coming to present themselves, and Satan came, and now there is a discussion. Go ahead.
And Yahweh said unto Satan, whence comest thou?
So he ain't been around there. All right, but he knew to show up. He knew to show up when it was time for him to make his appearance. How is it that you have to ask yourself? So that means when we get to that point of being disobedient, we are worse than the adversary of the devil. Because even he had sense enough to make his appearance. I mean, he knew he wasn't going to do nothing right, but he knew to make his appearance. That's something that you have to consider. And this is the highest level of deception, where you deceive everybody else not to do something, and then you go do it. He done told everybody not to go. Oh, don't worry about that law. No, you are saved by grace. It's nailed to the cross. Yeah, you ain't got to worry about nothing. Oh, hold on, Yahweh, I'm on my way. I'm here today. What? So you done convinced all these people, but he shows up. Go ahead.
Verse 7. And Yahweh said unto Satan, whence comest thou? And Satan answered Yahweh and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it.
Right, and this is where a lot of people give you the cross sign. they said,
They
to
going
and fro,
and
up and down. This is what he been doing, and he uses this thing. And you talking about how much deception he's able to do, and then you see people on a football field when they make a play, they do that to and fro, up and down.
But I think it's appropriate because it tells you that Satan walks the earth as a roaring lion, seeking all whom he may devour. And he got them.
Right. And if he can convince us not to walk in Yahweh's culture, he's going to have us too. Go ahead.
Verse 8, and Yahweh said unto Satan, have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth Elohim and escheweth evil?
All right. So then he says, have you considered? So Yahweh don't have to ask what he doing. He know what he doing. Hey, where you come from?
Deceiving people.
Right. Where you come from? Because I know what you do. So he didn't ask him what he been doing.
Ask him what he was doing.
Yeah, what you doing to that? And then he goes right in. Have you considered my servant? What you mean consider them for what? Deception. What you do? So at this point, this is how Yahweh even uses the deceivers. The deceivers work for Yahweh. They don't know it. They are deceivers that are in your midst. They are setting potholes. They setting all kind of things for you to fall. They don't know they're working for Yahweh. See, Yahweh might let one of your feet fall into it. He might let your whole body fall into it. He's going to use that thing to make you better. They believe that they're working for him, but they're working for the adversary, the devil. But Yahweh will allow them to be an independent contractor every now and then. Have you considered my servant? Now let's go to chapter 2. Job chapter 2. And we're going to start that at verse 1.
Again, there was a day when the sons of Elohim came to present themselves before Yahweh, and Satan came also among them to present himself before Yahweh. And Yahweh said unto Satan, from whence comest thou? And Satan answered Yahweh and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it.
Can you help walk him out? Thank you.
Verse 3, and Yahweh said unto Satan, have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth Elohim and escheweth evil? And still he holdeth fast his integrity, although you moves me against him to destroy him without cause.
Again, there was a day when the sons of Elohim came to present themselves before Yahweh, and Satan came also among them to present himself before Yahweh. So we're looking at the exact same setup right behind. We have a holy day where all the angels are set to make an appearance, and here comes the adversary. So the adversary understands that he must keep these days as well. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 16. Thanks, bro. Deuteronomy chapter 16. Now, you know what? I want to start that at verse 9 because Deuteronomy 16 and verse 9, because it was something else that we were talking about, these different names. All right. So right here, it tells you that this is the Feast of Weeks. And we're going to link that up there. Go ahead.
7 weeks shall you number unto you. Begin to number the 7 weeks from such time as you begin to put the sickle to the corn. 7
weeks shall you number unto you. Begin to number the 7 weeks from such a time as you begin to put the sickle to the corn. So then what we're about to deal with there then is going to be what we will call Pentecost if you deal with the things from the New Testament. Okay? So now you're talking about these weeks. What? 7 weeks,
Yes.
7 times 7. So then you understand why it is called Feast of Weeks. So without this, not understanding the change in names, then you don't really get that this is the same Feast of Pentecost. This is the exact same feast. Go ahead.
Verse 10, and you shall keep the feast of weeks unto Yahweh your Elohim with a tribute of a freewill offering of your hand, which you shall give unto Yahweh your Elohim, according as Yahweh your Elohim has blessed you. And you shall rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim, you and your son and your daughter, and your manservant and your maidservant, and the Levite that is within your gates, and the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow that are among you, in the place which Yahweh your Elohim has chosen to place his name there. And you shall remember that you were born a bondman, in Egypt, and you shall observe and do these statutes.
All right, you shall remember that you were a bondman in Egypt and operate accordingly. You shall rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim, you, your son, your daughter, your manservant, your maidservant, and the Levite that is within your gates. All right, so then you have these things that Yahweh has given us, but I wanted to read that particular part so that we can see the power of a name change. By calling it Pentecost, you can erase the Old Testament foundation. And you can also see the power in a name change when the name of the Hebrew Messiah was changed from Yahshua to Jesus. Once you change the name, you could also change the image and likeness. See, the image and likeness go together. Jesus is a Latin Greek hybrid name, so then they gave us a Greek representative. Even though it clearly says that he was a Hebrew, they give us a Greek person because they first gave us a Greek name. We didn't see that first came the change in name. Next came the change in the image of him being depicted. Go ahead.
Verse 13, you shall observe the Feast of Tabernacles 7 days after that you have gathered in your corn and your wine.
Right. So this is after we have done all of these things, we are rejoicing in the things that Yahweh has given unto us, the things that we have the ability to do.
And it's why they call that the ingathering.
So right, you're gathering in all of these things. All right. And these are the things that are going to sustain you. And look, it's talking about corn and your wine. You got some people that say, you can't be holy if you can drink wine. They don't understand how powerful the corn is.
They don't.
Go ahead.
And you shall rejoice in your feast, you and your son and your daughter and your manservant and thy maidservant and the Levite, the stranger and the fatherless and the widow that are within your gates. 7 days shall you keep a solemn feast unto Yahweh your Elohim in the place which Yahweh shall choose, because Yahweh your Elohim shall bless you in all your increase and in all the works of your hands. Therefore you shall surely rejoice. 3 times in a year shall all your males appear before Yahweh your Elohim in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles, and they shall not appear before Yahweh empty. Every man shall give as he is able.
Every man shall give as he is able. You can't give according to the ability of somebody else. Every man shall give as he is able. One of the things that we end up seeing as we notice that there were Pentecost things on the same day that we were keeping our feast days. You look out and some of the Sunday keeping organizations were telling people exactly how much to bring.
Yes.
What is that? They were calling out numbers. You know, you need to have a such and such seed offering. Whoa, 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 whoa. It's not what I read.
Well, see, when you kill the instruction in the Old Testament, then you can do it like you want.
Exactly. See, when you think that Pentecost just showed up in the New Testament, then when that person starts giving you your instruction, you're right. You follow that because you don't understand that there's a basis for that already given. So he doesn't get to tell you what you can bring. Go ahead.
Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of Yahweh your Elohim, which he has given you.
Which he has given you. All right, let's go to Zechariah chapter 14.
Wait, you want to start at verse 1?
Yep.
Verse 1. Behold, the day of Yahweh cometh, and your spoil shall be divided in the midst of you. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. Then shall Yahweh go forth and fight against those nations as when he fought in the day of battle. And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east, and the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west. And there shall be a very great valley, and half of the mountain shall remove toward the north, and half of it toward the south.
All right, so we're talking about the second coming of Yahshua here. We're talking about this battle of Armageddon that has to be fought, and what's happening here. This whole thing is, you have all of these people that say, you don't have to worry about all of these things in the Old Testament. He's making a feast and a sacrifice, and they are coming to the feast and the sacrifice, but don't know that the purpose for which they are coming. Go ahead.
Where did I stop? Verse
Verse
5. And you shall flee to the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountains shall reach unto Esau. Yea, ye shall flee, like as you fled from before the earthquake in the days of Uzziah king of Yehudah. And Yahweh my Elohim shall come, and all the saints with you. And it shall come to pass in that day that light shall not be clear nor dark. It
was one of the things I end up seeing, and where somebody was asking a question about, what color was the sun, and people say, well, is yellow, and he was saying no, the sun actually appears more white, but it's all about what color. It has every color in it. Which is why it is what's on the earth at that point that it reflects that light, or which parts comes through that you're able to see. But it has every color of light in it. So it's about which one you see, because one minute it look yellow, next minute it look red. So you consider these things. So it shall come to pass that at evening time it shall be light. And we're talking about, and we read about strange things happening with the sun and with the moon, because we don't really understand all of the properties of each one of these things. So when it does something, we will be amazed, not knowing, oh no, it always had that ability to do that. You just didn't know it. The right atmospheric conditions were not there for it to do that. Go ahead.
But it shall be one day which shall be known to Yahweh, not day nor night, but it shall come to pass that at eventime it shall be light. And it shall be in that day that living waters shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them toward the former sea, and half of them toward the hinder sea. And in summer and in winter shall it be. And Yahweh shall be king over all the earth. In that day shall there be one one Yahweh and his name one.
Yeah, people say, well, he has many names. That's not what I gather out of this. What they have is many titles that they have given unto him. They'll say, wonderful one, counselor, those are titles. Those are not names. There's nobody named wonderful. There's nobody named counselor. All right. Those are not names. Those are titles. When you talk about a name, he's saying, and he's making this point, his name shall be one. You're going to stop calling me all of those things. Matter of fact, it says, I'm going to take the names of Baalim out of her mouth. That Israel will no longer call Yahweh Lord. See, they don't understand that Lord is Baal. The names of Baalim is Lord. And we think we really saying something when we say Lord. We think we really saying, watch the all of the stuff that's going on with the death of the queen and see how many lords you see. And is that the Lord you praying to? 'Cause there's a lot of other lords on there. Right. Then you understand why Lord keep coming up. And we think that's a holy term. Go ahead.
Verse 10. And all the land shall be turned as a plain from Geba to Rimmon, south of Jerusalem. And it shall be lifted up and inhabited in her place, from Benjamin's gate unto the place of the first gate, unto the corner gate, and from the tower of Hananeel unto the king's winepress. And men shall dwell in it, and there shall be no more utter destruction, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited. And this shall be the plague wherewith Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. And it shall come to pass in that day that a great tumult from Yahweh shall be among them, and they shall lay hold every one on the hand of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. And Yehudah also shall fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of all the heathen round about shall be gathered together, gold and silver and apparel in great abundance.
Right. So you have the situation where Yahweh is going to return all of the things that have been taken from the children of Israel. See, we're looking for reparations to be given us from somebody. And if you have been paying attention, that after this queen has passed away, have you paid attention to how many countries start asking for reparations and start saying all of these things? See, there's some things you have to really consider. But Yahweh knows if we get reparation in a strange land, how's it going to benefit us? See, Yahweh didn't cause us to receive anything until we were coming out of Egypt. We're on our way out of Egypt. All right, now go get this stuff.
It's going to be the same.
All right, but now you got to go. Because if we get any reparations here, what are we going to do? Turn around and put it all back into the economy of our slave masters. We're not going to have any economy of our own. We get some money now as reparations. Everybody going to get money. And at the end of the day, we're going to be the brokest people still, but we're just going to have a whole bunch of stuff. Nobody's going to buy a business. We're going to buy products. And then when the products get old and die off or don't work anymore, you have nothing. So Yahweh giving us something in the land of our captors is just not good, prudent planning.
It isn't.
And I don't think we get that. And people are like, well, we should get reparations. Why? And what we going to do with them here?
And we don't want him here. Notice he didn't say dollars. He said gold, silver, and apparel in great abundance.
Right. Things that have real value. A dollar can be devalued the day after you get it.
Yeah, my.
You can get $1 million on Tuesday. They hit the right computer numbers up there, and your $1 million is now worth less than $200,000. All like that. Matter of fact, that's the war that's happening right before our eyes. It is a war of commerce. How America has been able to do things all over the earth is because they made the dollar the standard for everything.
Yes.
Russia and China are gathering together to devalue the currency. Once that happens, everything changes. So and how Russia is pushing that, they said, okay, the things that we sell, you will no longer give us dollars. You pay us in our currency. So now that make everybody in the world who's trying to get something from Russia, and understand, they are about to go through this thing, and Europe is preparing for the lack of oil, the lack of gas that Europe is about to have or not have as the freezing months are coming upon them. Putin is acting like, the oil pipeline needed a repair. Everybody knew he was going to do it. Mm-hmm. So now the very countries, this is why other countries are calling America and Britain hypocrites, because they talk to all the other countries about how they should reduce their carbon emissions. Now they're buying coal so that they can prepare for the winter that is coming without Russian fuel, which is going to send all kind of other things in the atmosphere. So basically, none of that treaty or any of those things matter when they come to a need. So you have a lot of those things, but then Russia said, look, you're going to pay us in our currency. Mm-hmm. And that is going to seriously bring about some changes. Go ahead.
Verse 15. And so shall be the plague of the horse, of the mule, of the camel, of the ass, and all of the beasts that shall be in these tents as this plague. And it shall come to pass that every one that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, Yahweh of hosts, and to keep the feast of tabernacles.
So then at the end time, we're talking about everybody. You have to learn when to let the hair on your neck should stand up. Verse 16, and it shall come to pass that everyone that is left. Wait a minute. Mm-hmm. What do you mean left? That's everybody that's still living. So he's going to be killing off. It's going to be some serious killing.
Yes.
That everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King. They going to have to come up and worship. Now understand, it says keep the Feast of Tabernacles. What do we know happens in the Feast of Tabernacles? Appearances. Mm-hmm. All right? So all the nations are going to have to send their representative. What also happens? Every man must not come empty. He must come with an offering. See, so as it says, if you are going to give sparingly, you're going to receive sparingly. Mm-hmm. What are you talking about? This is going to take care of all us. Do you know how much a nation offering is? He said, look, I don't need everybody in Europe to come. Now let the king come. Make the king of all the nations come. Do you understand what a gift from a nation mm-hmm. is going to be? We're talking about individual people. No. What we're preparing is to receive the gift that comes from nations. We're talking about a percentage of their GNP, their mm-hmm. gross national product. Mm-hmm. Okay? That's what we're talking about. Go ahead.
And they follow that principle, where you have common kings that say you never appear before a king empty-handed.
Exactly.
And Yahweh
and they're coming before the great king.
Exactly.
And they have to bring something when they come. And they got to come every year.
Verse 17. And it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, Yahweh of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain.
All right, so this first level of punishment, if they don't come up and show respect unto Yahweh. Go ahead.
And if the family of Egypt go not up and come not, that have no rain, there shall be the plague wherewith Yahweh will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles.
So it ain't just going to stay at the rain.
No rain.
You decide that the rain was not a big enough punishment, then it increases and goes on the next level. And you look at all the punishments of Egypt that were given to get the children of Israel out
of there.
Let's see how long people going to be disobedient when he starts hitting a whole nation. because the whole nation will revolt against you. So you didn't go up and look at this stuff that's happening to us. Oh, the whole nation will revolt. Oh, that king will go next year. He might go next month. He might not even wait for the next year. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
This shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all nations that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Verse 20, and in that day shall there be upon the bells of the horses holiness unto Yahweh. And the pots in Yahweh's house shall be like the bowls before the altar. Yea, every pot in Jerusalem and in Yehuda shall be holiness unto Yahweh of hosts. And all they that sacrifice shall come and take of them, and seed therein. And in that day there shall be no more Canaanite in the house of Yahweh of hosts.
All right. So we wanted to make sure that as we get close to these days, that we are understanding what it is we're doing. Once again, the Feast of Trumpets is going to be September the 25th at sundown. Atonement is going to be October the 4th at sundown. Feast of Tabernacles will begin October 9th at sundown, and it will be the last day, another holy convocation at October 16th at sundown. So if you're trying to get days off, you will need the following day, not the date that I just mentioned. All right? So understand, because we will start on the 9th at sundown, the day you need to be off is the 10th. Because we will start on the 16th at sundown, the day that you will need to be off is the 17th. All right? So just understand what that is. The same with Atonement, October 4th at sundown. That means you need the 5th off. All right? Trumpets, September 25th, you will need the 26th. All right? So understand that. That's all that we're going to do for today. And we're going to leave out with a prayer. We're going to rise and face the east. All males, remove your head covering. And females always pray with their head covered. Abba Father, Most High Covenant Elohim of Abraham, Esaac, and Yaakov. Abba Father, we thank you for giving us yet another opportunity to gather before you and read out of the legacy that you have left unto us. We pray, Abba Father, that as we leave this place, that you would allow us to safely get to our destinations so that we may be able to come back and serve you all over again. We pray, Abba Father, that as we are near our holy days, we pray that these things will be seen as holy unto you. For we know that the children of Israel got into a place whereby we kept the holy days in natural show, but the real aspect of the things that we were supposed to be keeping was not in our hearts. We pray that it be not so with us, Abba Father, that you would remove the scales, remove the outer covering that we have allowed for the daughter of Babylon to put upon us. And we purposely got some of those things because we thought that making ourselves a hard outer shell will help us to survive. And some of those things are the very things that are causing us issues and causes us not to be able to walk in your spirit. We pray, Abba Father, that you would forgive us of our sins. And we pray, Father, that you would teach us how to forgive those who have sinned against us. We ask these prayers not only for those that gather with us physically, but even those that gather by way of phones and by way of internet, those that gather out of a pure heart to serve you in truth and in spirit. In Yahshua HaMashiach's holy and divine name we pray. Amen and hallelujah.